Nationals officially underway with Sunday practice day. My name is Chris Wilner. Connor Wade is in the booth with us, and we are live right now on YouTube, and we're going to, of course, give it to you on Facebook as well. Those of you tuning in on FloRacing, we appreciate you as well. Broadcast presenting sponsor NOS Energy Drink, of course, here this week. Connor, welcome back to the Chili Bowl. We were here, 6-7 days ago, crowning Tulsa Shootout champions. Now we're going to hand out the all-important Chili Bowl Nationals Golden Driller Trophy at the end of Saturday, but we're a long ways away from that right now. We're getting some much-needed practice time for all 360 competitors.
It truly is one of the biggest events in all of motorsports, if not the biggest event in all of dirt racing. 350-plus drivers from all over the country, so many different disciplines of racing, young drivers, veteran drivers, older drivers, all coming to the SageNet Center for one reason and one reason only, the reason we all love, the reason this place is packed every year, the Golden Driller.
So we pick up practice today. We just passed the halfway point. So basically, to break it down for you, 360 entries. They all get 2 sessions of hot laps today, split up into groups. So there were 34 groups of hot laps. We went 1 through 34 this morning, beginning just after 9 a.m. local time here, Central Time Zone. And we had a track prep break, and then the first group just went out to go for round number 2, going backwards. So now group 34, and we will go all the way back down to 1 to conclude this Sunday. And then again, tomorrow begins the first of 5 preliminary nights. Again, that'll be Cummins qualifying night, of course, and our race of champions as well. 360 entries, we mentioned. It's incredible how far they come to as well. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United Kingdom, of course, the United States, with 35 states being represented. 57 A-main starters in the past have been here or are signed in here for this edition of the Chili Bowl. 82 rookies. That number always seems to just get bigger and bigger each and every year, Connor. It tells about the draw of this event. Everyone wants to try their hand at it, whether you're a dirt racer or not. This is the place you want to be.
Well, we see kids that grow up, they want to come and run the Chili Bowl. They run micros in Oklahoma or California or, out in the Northeast. They want to do it, but then you'll see guys like, we got Josh Balicki this week, who's got experience in NASCAR and I think some road racing a little bit too. Everybody wants to come and run the Chili Bowl, and it's such a unique event for drivers and fans alike. And we're going to have a great show this week as cars roll out. There's a look at KTJ, locked in through a prelim on Wednesday night last year, and will be a contender in that Alexander-owned Drive WFX number 5 car. In the past, we had practice on Monday morning as we packed everything. We had practice, a prelim night. The race of champions in the past was on Monday. That was a lot. It made for a really, really busy Monday morning and afternoon. So this year we add a day. Move-in day was moved from Sunday to Saturday. Teams got here Friday night, and now we're going to spend all day practicing. It also allows every driver to come out twice. We divide them into 34 sessions. We went 1 through 34 earlier this morning. We just started. We're going to go 34 through 1. So everybody will get to come onto the track for 2 practice sessions, and you'll get to see the remaining practice sessions today right here on FloRacing.
That's right. Session 33 is out, so the second group after that intermission break. We have Alex Sewell out there, Rylan Gray, Connor Morrill, Dylan Bloomfield, and Emerson Axsom driving that Reinbold Underwood Motorsports number 19T. Again, coming in fresh off an Outlaw Wing Driller, his 3rd of the Tulsa Shootout, and a driver Connor, hungry for a Chili Bowl win.
Man, Emerson, honestly, we've said this the last 2 years. Emerson comes into the Chili Bowl with so much momentum because what he's done in this building at the Shootout has been so special the last couple of years. He came in last year, rode that momentum into an A-main start at the Chili Bowl, and looking to ride the momentum from the Wing Outlaw win last Saturday night into, who knows, this Saturday. The field is wide open. It gets, I feel like, more and more competitive each and every year. New team for Emerson also with Reinbold Underwood going over to that camp. I'm not concerned. That team won the Chili Bowl last year, of course, with Tanner Thorson behind the wheel. They've won several USAC National Midget races. New team, new combination, but it's still a very established midget program, a very established race car driver in Emerson Axsom that you see right there.
Look out.
Yeah, look out. So I'm not worried about it. I think Emerson is going to be great in the 19T machine as the Reinbold crew pushes it back to the pit area.
Yeah, you see Rizzy up there, AJ Parker, a part of that organization as well. Some really good hands on underneath the hood for that team. So Emerson Axsom will be one to watch, of course. Tons of storylines coming into this week. We'll dive into them each and every preliminary night day for you here on FloRacing. Really cool look as well as we kind of go triple box. You see our Buzzy Racing products, Speed Shot, and showing corner number 3 and 4. They're on the bottom left of your screen, bottom right. That's going to be our ramp cam, the NOS Energy Drink ramp cam. That will be a busy place. And Connor, no matter whether it's your first time or your 50th time rolling down the ramp here at the SageNet Center going into Tulsa Expo Raceway, gives you the chills. And I had the pleasure of doing it a couple times in a micro. Can't imagine what it's like, especially come Saturday night going down that hill.
It really is. It makes drivers, like you said, it doesn't matter how many times you've done it. You feel the butterflies, you feel the energy in the building, the atmosphere. You feel that really from the time you get into the race car to the time you roll down the ramp out onto the racetrack. So it's definitely a nervous feeling, but that's what the Chili Bowl is all about, and it's always a matter of who is going to react to that pressure the best. That's usually who ends up walking out with the driller Saturday night.
Absolutely, and we talked about coming into this week and this Chili Bowl this year a little bit different. No Kyle Larson, no Christopher Bell. It's been discussed many a times over the course of the 2022 season leading into this indoor season, the beginning of 23, of kind of what the Chili Bowl is going to look like, and whether some agree or not. It really hasn't affected much. There's a lot of talent underneath this building, a lot of hungry eyes chasing after Tanner Thorson as well. You look at Buddy Kofoid, how close he's been, winning a preliminary night, beating Kyle Larson here last year. Is this his year to take home a golden driller underneath this roof? So certainly a lot of interesting storylines, a lot of talented race car drivers, but certainly coming in, that was all the talk was what was going to happen without Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell. So far, I think the magic is just going to be that much more special. We're going to get to talk about a lot more race car drivers here underneath this building. We mentioned Tanner Thorson. Can he defend? I think he, out of anyone else, is probably coming in with the most confidence. Again, he works on his race car, builds it, sets it up himself, kind of a one-man band, you like to call it. Obviously had the Reinbold Underwood kind of umbrella last year, but on his own this year has Ace McCarthy there as a 2-car program. Again, probably one of the guys coming in many will pick in their Chili Bowl pool as maybe to repeat, but a lot of other names as well.
There's one guy you're forgetting, and we've been on the air 10 minutes. I don't want to unleash my predictions or my pick yet, but there is a guy who has won a lot of prelims, particularly on Friday nights here the last couple of years, that has had good runs on Saturday, but just hasn't broke through for that driller, and he wants it probably worse than anybody in the pit area. He's on track right now in this session for my own California, Justin Grant, the USAC National Sprint Car Champion this past year, and now has 2 of the 3 legs for the USAC Triple Crown completed. So JG is going to be a lot of fun to watch, along with Thorson and Kofoid, and Rico Abreu is always so competitive here at the Chili Bowl. He's won it twice before. It's going to be as competitive as ever. Last year, even when Larson and Bell were still here, last year going into Saturday night, it was, I feel like, as wide open as it had ever been. And I feel like this year it's even more wide open. So a lot of good race cars. You never know who's going to be walking away with it. There's a lot of drivers that are going to have a shot to do it, and we'll see a lot of them on display throughout the week during the prelims.
Taking a look at Steve Buckwalter racing around there. As you look a little bit farther back, again, this is session number 32, so going in reverse order. There's Carson Elledge on the top side of the racetrack, running one of the Dave Mack Dalby Motorsports entries. A welcome back to her at the Chili Bowl. Stepped aside the last couple of years from racing full-time, has her own marketing program going, Raceline clothing as well. But she wanted to get back behind the wheel. Saw her at the shootout supporting her brother Wyatt Miller. Now she's back as the checkered flag falls, and she, again, formerly ran full-time there in the midgets with CB Industries and Chad Bode, and now behind the wheel of that Dave Mack Dalby Motorsports number 08.
Well, I was there the night that that conversation between Dave Mack and Carson came together. It was over a few alcoholic beverages at turn 5.
Most of these stories usually involved alcoholic beverages.
Somebody said something, Carson, why don't you run Chili Bowl? Oh, Dave Mack, you're sitting right there. You didn't have a car open, and that's how it came together. There's a look at Jerry Coons Jr. You talked about a guy, he's set on the pole of the Chili Bowl. I remember Jerry Coons set on the pole the first ever Chili Bowl I came to, and last year during the prelim, it was Monday night. Did he have the lead? He was running somewhere in the top. I think he had the lead, was running somewhere in the top 3. Lost the motor. It was the only motor they had. He also had COVID, so he wasn't feeling that well. Jerry is a veteran, is a USAC Triple Crown champion, has accomplished so much in midget racing throughout his career. He's never won the Chili Bowl. You can bet Jerry is going to be really, really motivated to put the icing on the cake on his career. Not that he's going to step away anytime soon. I certainly hope he doesn't, but really put the icing on the cake on an amazing career with a driller here this week.
Taking a look back as you follow the cars back to the pit area at the top of the ramp. That's Tim McCready, and interesting for Tim, a former Chili Bowl champion, actually was upside down in his practice session number 1 not that long ago. Again, we're going in reverse order, so maybe about an hour or so ago, Tim was upside down. Luckily, doesn't look like too much damage. They're able to repair that 39T, but certainly not the way you want your Chili Bowl to start. But if it's going to happen, Connor, it better happen today, because again, there's no prelim night tonight, so get any misfortunes, figure out your race car today before you go into your prelim night.
Well, I talked to Tim McCready for about 5 or 10 minutes earlier in the day. The now 2-time and defending Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series champion. He's a race car driver. You put him in a late model, a sprint car, bid block modifieds, the guy can wheel it. He loves the Chili Bowl. He wouldn't miss this for the world. He won it in, I want to say, was it 2004? I don't have my notes in front of me. 2006. Tim McCready got it done. But yeah, Tim's a race car driver, and he's going to be great this week. Glad he's here. He wouldn't miss it for the world. And looked like everything was all right. Didn't look like they had too much damage from the flip earlier, so he'll be good.
Session 31 going to hit the racetrack. Again, they roll two sessions down the ramp at a time, get them fired up, and then one session will pull into the infield, making it easier for them to get that next group out on the racetrack. That's car number 14M. I believe that's Michael Facinto, and Facinto no stranger to tasting driller glory here, although that was in the Tulsa shootout. A multi-time winner of those Golden Drillers. Still hasn't got a Chili Bowl victory, but he is always up front on a prelim night. You can certainly count him in as a higher-up main on Saturday, and a chance to lock in as well. Car number 53 out on the racetrack, Sean Robbins in that 53R. That's how you name a race or number a race car, though. Look at how big those 53s are, and especially on the right side of the race car. It's all down the right side panel, too. Makes it easier for the scoring.
And there's plenty of them, too.
Sponsored by the number 53. How about that? Ethan Mitchell, Lil Bundy is in this one as well. Should take a look at car number 6. Out on the racetrack. These are the previous two. Okay, so we're going to go backwards a group.
I think that's Jesse Denham in the 6K, perhaps one of the Cruiseman cars. Should be.
Yes.
Sam Haferteep in the 15H. He is well known in the Texas and Oklahoma region as a 360 sprint car driver. And
he's a ACS champion.
Multi-time. He's a good shoe and always makes a lot of noise at the Chili Bowl. This is a guy who has made quite a bit of noise at the Chili Bowl, whether it's running a B main without a throttle cable, which I'm pretty sure he did, or broken throttle cable, or running 5th on a prelim night, Nick Hoffman. And there's a former Chili Bowl winner in Damian Gardner.
Yeah, 2008 champ Damian Gardner, the Demon, back with Bob East in that Beast chassis number 71. Tons of names as we kind of go through the rest of the practice group. As you had Jacob Denny in that Trent Shorey number 25. There is KTJ, Kevin Thomas Jr. And again, the racetrack's starting to widen out a little bit. Logan Seavey back with the Swindells, but this time with Kevin Swindell. So Kevin and Dad kind of split up a little bit, and so Kevin's got his own car with Logan Seavey. Dad's back once again in that familiar 39 as Trey Gropp is another entrant in the Dave Mack Dalby Cam.
Interesting to see a Swindell 39 car without the square tilt tank on the back. That's going to take some getting used to this week. But look, Kevin's a genius. We all know. You don't need us to tell you that. Logan Seavey is one talented race car driver. He'll be fun to watch in the Victory Fuel.
And Kevin, of course, picked up his first driller as a car owner last week at the Tulsa shootout with Gavin Boschele, picking up stock non-wing honors in that race. So really cool for Kevin to get one as an owner, and now would like to get a Chili Bowl championship as an owner. Of course, a 4-time winner of this great race. So that was session number 31. Again, there are 34 total, so we're going in reverse order. This is the second and final round of practice for these drivers here today before we will kick things off tomorrow with our Cummins qualifying night number 1 on Monday. Of course, our Race of Champions as well. And speaking of the Race of Champions, Connor, found it interesting this week, of course, that every year the invite list or the qualifications to make the Race of Champions seems to always spark some sort of discussion. This year, a very deserving 11 that make the traditional entry list, but then some invites were extended. Chase Briscoe was invited by the Chili Bowl to round out that field. Alex Bowman as well. Michael Pickens as an international champion. What are your thoughts on that? Because there's criteria in terms of how to qualify for it, but at the same time, there are some champions that maybe were left out. Shootout champions or even some midget and sprint car champions.
Here's the thing: the event is set in the past. We're going to have our qualifications that'll get people in, but if we need to adjust it, we're going to adjust it. I mean, it's a Race of Champions. It happens Monday night. It's not like they're just throwing random guys into the A main on Saturday night. That's great. Sammy has dropped out of the qualifications the last couple years. The guy's won 5 drillers. He should be in the Race of Champions for crying out loud.
His literal entry on this year says it's because he's the GOAT in this building.
And that's 100% true. I really applaud Emmett Hahn and Matt Ward and the entire Chili Bowl event staff on the way they've handled the Race of Champions, allowing some drivers that maybe don't meet the specific requirements to get into it, like a Sammy Swindell or like a Michael Pickens or somebody like that, to give them some recognition and race with truly some of the best race car drivers in the world. Personally, I would love to see the Race of Champions on a Sunday night one year. I think that'd be pretty cool. Practice during the day, sell some tickets, sell some broadcasts, and have the Race of Champions be kind of its own deal on Sunday night. But it's a great addition to Monday night, and looking forward to that tomorrow night as well. Of course, really happy to have O'Reilly Auto Parts as the title sponsor of the Race of Champions this year as well, as there's one of the many Keith Kunz Motorsports entries that we'll see this week. I believe they have 14. That's the 71E out of Fresno, California, Mariah E.
Yeah, and that's funny you say that, because this year Keith actually downsized a car.
Yeah.
I don't know that was possible yet. 15 last year, 14 this year. One of the coolest parts of my first day here inside this building is when you walk into the pit area and you see the giant just line of pristine looking midget cars out of Keith's stable, just literally taking an entire row, all 14 of them lined up, and the operation that he and his whole team have, just in terms of which car they need to focus on, because again, they're running at least 2 per day. The operation that he and his whole team have, just in terms of which car they need to focus on, because again, they're running at least 2 per day, in often cases 3, so it's an all hands on deck situation, but they find a way each and every year to just make it look like clockwork, and it's really fun to watch. There's a guy. We
briefly saw Power and Work Champ Riley Kreisel. Now we did a look at Blake Hahn in the 52, the now 2-time ASCS 360 Sprint Car Champion. We talked about how much everybody wants to win a driller, and that's so true. Everybody wants that. But Blake Hahn, his grandfather, Emmett, the founder of this event, you might be able to actually make a case that Blake wants it more than anybody here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can talk about the Tulsa Shootout all you want, but it doesn't matter until you get a Chili Bowl championship. And Blake's been close a couple times, a multi-time Saturday A-main starter, and he's back in those familiar colors as well. As you take a look back into turn number 3 and 4, picking up some other drivers. There's Riley Kreisel, War Sprint Championship winner in years past, of course, and then there's Cannon McIntosh. We called him Mr. Monday, a 2-time Monday winner. Didn't win last year. That went to Tanner Carrick. So is it Cannon Mac's time, back with his father's team, Dave Mack Dalby Motorsports, trying to get another prelim win and possibly a Chili Bowl championship. Jordan Kinzer, great story, teamed up with Chase Briscoe, once again, the former Indiana Sprint Car teammates, runners there in southern Indiana. Chase said when he could have a midget team, he was going to have Jordan drive for him. Certainly does it again here this year. And the 14M, there's Michael Vicento as the checkered flag falls on hot lap session number 30.
That was Jody Rosenboom in the 14J.
That's right.
We saw Vicento on in the prior one. Cannon McIntosh had a really good year, won some big USAC races, tied the Power I National Midget single season wins record at 12. And if you remember, he didn't win last year, but he came from the C main to finish, I think, 5th or 6th on that Monday prelim. Even though he didn't win, I'm still calling Cannon Mr. Monday, and he'll be fun to watch tomorrow night for sure.
Certainly put on a big-time performance. And we mentioned the rookies. We talked about some of the ones like Josh Balicki out of the NASCAR camp, just kind of getting an opportunity to go test the waters. Caden Honeycutt is here, the late model ace, who's a Cars Tour winner two-time Cars Tour winner in the late model stocks this year, kind of trying his hand at dirt. But how about Jacob Allen of the World of Outlaws taking a nice big step into the midget racing ranks, had 0 laps coming into this week, went out to Port City, did about 5 hours worth of testing, and he actually thinks he's got a really good shot this year, and he certainly looked good in Hot Lap session number 1.
And what's so interesting about that, you have Jacob Allen, very successful in the World of Outlaws sprint car ranks, no midget experience. And then you have a car owner, Cruz Pedregon, who's a huge drag racing guy, one of the biggest names probably in the recent last 10, 20 years in all the drag racing, that owns a midget team, and he's got this sprint car driver driving for him. They're coming to the Chili Bowl. That is so interesting to me, how, you know, two guys from totally different backgrounds coming together for the Chili Bowl to run midgets. I think that's so cool. Can't wait to see what Jacob does. Another rookie that's really, really established herself in micros and midgets the last couple years that we're going to see coming onto the track here in this next session, Jade Avedisian.
Yeah, Jade Avedisian for sure is someone that turned heads again this year, 2-time winner on the Extreme Midget Series, one of the first 2 women to ever win a national midget feature event. Taylor Reimer credited with the first, but that one came after disqualification from Millbridge earlier in 2022. As there's Jade getting a talking to, making sure the car's put in gear, and she'll get fired off in that CB Industries number 84. But so Jade took the shootout off to prepare for this event, wanted to give 110% effort and attention on the Chili Bowl, and this is her first opportunity here to show us what she could do.
So if you've been wondering about you know, the whole age rule requirement thing and how it's been the last couple of years, let's refresh. For many years, it was 16 and over only, absolutely no exceptions. The event, like they should have done, glad they did, it was awesome last year, decided if you're under 16, you can apply. We'll review your credentials, review your resume, see what kind of cars, what kind of races you've competed in. If we think you're qualified, if we think you can come be competitive at the Chili Bowl, we'll allow that. They made that announcement, the rule change, fairly late. Jade unfortunately didn't have enough time to secure a ride, so this will be her first Chili Bowl Nationals, and really looking forward to seeing what she can do in the CB Industries team. The CB Industries cars, I think, get better and better here every year. They've been close with Christopher Bell. Fresh slate this year, drivers. Should be a lot of fun to watch that team.
And there is 2-time Chili Bowl national champion Rico Abreu. Changed the number this year, still with Keith Coons, running his sprint car number 24, and he'll be one to watch come his prelim night, a multi-time prelim winner. I believe he's got 7. If he goes for one more, that ties the all-time prelim win record. So Rico will be one to watch come, I believe, Thursday or Wednesday night.
There's a guy from the bid block modified world, Max McLaughlin, out of North Carolina. Has done a little bit of micro stuff, not a whole lot of midget stuff, I don't believe, but super happy to have him here at the Chili Bowl as well, as Avedisian all over him as they come to the checkered flag there in that practice session. And Chris, you know, giving these guys 2 practice sessions a day and just practice in general really helps. We mentioned guys that don't have experience in midgets. A lot of these guys don't run midgets every year. A lot of them build special cars just for the Chili Bowl. Sure. Thomas Meserol is running a Ford motor that's got 1 race on it. So giving these guys an opportunity to spend this entire Sunday to focus just on practice and shaking these cars down really could be beneficial to a lot of them, I think.
It's huge, and it's a breath of fresh air as well, not condensing Monday and trying to get all this in. And if you have an issue and you're, for instance, a Monday qualifier, boy, that really sets you behind the 8 balls. You see Alex Bright coming down the ramp, a former prelim night winner himself back in 2016. But for sure, I love the practice day being on Sunday. Sure, it adds an extra day to the week, but it's the Chili Bowl, and you want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to get the best they can out of their machines and equipment, make sure everything's running right. I know for me personally, if I was running the Chili Bowl, all the practice would help for sure. And you mentioned there are drivers like my good buddy Dylan Welch, who only runs a couple times a year, you know, needs to knock the rust off a little bit versus running 60, 70 times a year. So love the way this format is set up, and we're rolling right through it too. It's just past 3 o'clock local time. We're already on the second round and working session number 28.
I think it's great for sure. And there's a look at Rico going back to the pit area. There's a look at the 139 machine. That is the other Swindell Motorsports entry. That is Todd Bertrand, a teammate to 5-time Chili Bowl champion Sammy Swindell. Alex Bright, we saw him rolling out. It doesn't matter what car Alex is in here at the Chili Bowl, whether it's the 77 car, he ran for Malloy that year and was good. It was pretty good last year for Reinbold. Alex Bright is just a guy that is really, really good in this building. So he's always fun to watch here at the Chili Bowl. The start of the A main 4 or 5 times on Saturday night. And we mentioned earlier, great team for Reinbold Underwood between Emerson and Dason Persley and Alex. Looking forward to seeing what all of those cars can do, especially Alex Bright in the 19B.
Absolutely. Just saw Ashton Thompson get pushed down from the Hoosier State of Indiana, making a return here to the Chili Bowl. You also have rolling out is the 14D, the 14D car. I believe that's actually Cody Hayes in the plain old 14. It is one of the Ripper chassis. Purple, white, and black machine. We'll see some other drivers out here as well. Kaylee Bryson, who made waves in this event last year. First female to qualify for the Chili Bowl Saturday A main. She won the B to an absolute roar of the crowd. It probably was one of my most favorite memories of last year's Chili Bowl was just the electricity in the building, the smile on Kaylee's face knowing that she'd set a new benchmark. And now, with all the success Kaylee Bryson's had over the 2022 outdoor season between the midgets, the Silver Crown performance she put on at Springfield, I would hate to get her goal right now is to win a driller here this year.
Absolutely. I'm really, really excited to see what Kaylee can do next year, and especially this week. Kaylee's just a driver. The more she races on a consistent basis. When she's in the car every week, she gets better and better. Next year, she's going to do Silver Crown. She's going to do some Trans Am racing. I think that's awesome. Excited to see what Kaylee can do. And I'd say one of the best-looking race cars in the pit area with that Yahoo colors on the 71K. Kaylee will be fun to watch this week. Also saw one of the Camfield cars. There's always a ton of Camfields. The Camfield last name is really synonymous with midget racing in the Midwest. Love having a lot of the Camfields at the Chili Bowl every year.
Herman Carrier there. She got one up and over the cushion. That was the 23.
Tristan Lee in 23T. Matt Sherrill, Oklahoma.
And this year, as you take a look at Alex Bright and that AME Electrical number 19B. And Alex, of course, East Coast Sprint Car champion, has won dozens and dozens of races, but not the Chili Bowl National A main event. He wants to get it done, and Todd Bertrand there in that Swindell number 39 as quickly the checkered flag falls on session number 28. So counting once again all the way down to number 1. So we started with 1 to 34. We're now 34 back to 1, and we just wrapped up session number 28. Chris Willner, Connor Wade in the booth, welcoming you into the 37th annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl national coverage here on FloRacing, presented by Lucas Oil, and of course our presenting sponsor, NOS Energy Drink.
FloRacing, your home for all of the Chili Bowl the entire week. We'll have all the prelim nights starting at 4 p.m. Central every day, Monday through Friday. Then on Saturday, all the E-Main will partner with our great friends at MAV TV for the MAV TV on FloRacing broadcast of the C, B, and A mains on the Chili Bowl Saturday night. You can watch that MAV TV on FloRacing broadcast on the FloRacing app. All of us commentators looking forward to being a part of that to show you what we all love about the Chili Bowl here finally on FloRacing.
It's the best site in motorsports, especially the last couple years. We had to, tape it, right, and then put it on the website afterward, but it'll be cool to be a part of it live. And the electricity in this building, once you get to about Thursday night, Friday, you really kind of feel it. But, man, Saturday night.
That's when the pits start getting packed.
Exactly.
And there's so many people.
It takes me 30 minutes to go find the restroom because, it's a wall-to-wall people, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's an incredible event to be part of. If you're watching at home and maybe you've been like, man, I need to get to the Chili Bowl, what are you waiting for?
Do it. You will not regret it. It's silly at this point to not come. It really is.
And want to welcome you watching in on Facebook. We've got you tuned in live here inside the SageNet Center, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Practice day for the 37th annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals, presented by NOS Energy Drink, And yes, you're live on Facebook. So Facebook, YouTube, FloRacing, we got you covered for at least another hour or so as we roll through the second round of practice of 2 scheduled for today. So again, all 360 entries getting 2 sessions here today before we shut things down for Sunday.
So I see Ricky Thornton Jr. rolling out onto the racetrack. Of course, made a lot of noise until some shootout. We talked about him all week.
Hat shake
that was
of the
awesome.
week.
Yeah, second in the 8th last name main. So Ricky tweeted earlier he was looking for a seat for his midget, for the midget this week. He was going to use his micro seat. They got in the car. Obviously, that didn't work. I don't know why they thought it would, but hey, he's a late model guy. So, but driving for R.J. Johnson out of Arizona, it looks like they found a seat because he's out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, and it was funny. Nick Hoffman, of course, one of his Fender buddies on the dirt trail, tweeted at him and just said, well, why don't you just put a bicycle seat in it? So, yeah, not ideal, but Ricky Thornton Jr.'s finally got a seat in there that looks like it fits him well, and he'll be out here ripping in this next hot lap session. But again, you mentioned it, the Tulsa Shootout, not only impressing just by making 2 feature events, but in an outlaw wing, doing it in an all-stock car, stock motor, even had a stock wing on there, the smaller wing, and he was able to lock it in the show and do an incredible job. Turned a lot of heads at the shootout, and I talked to him afterwards, and he just said, I just have been hooked on this open wheel racing ever since I tried a micro earlier this year. He went out and bought one, ran a ton of races, and look what he's doing now. It's incredible.
He loves it. There's another guy who loves it. He loves being in this building. He really feeds off of the energy and the atmosphere at this place, and that's the man out of San Jose, California. Team has Thomas Meserol. He's locked in through the prelim several times, and something to note, you see there on the head, Engler. And Engler Ford under the hood of that number 7X machine. They tested that Ford motor out at DuQuoin last month. Originally, the plan was not to bring it to Chili Bowl, but that's ultimately what they decided to do. Looking forward to seeing what Thomas can do in that car. It's always so much fun to watch, whether he's trying to catch a flight to get here at the last minute on Saturday or just ripping the lip on the prelim night, trying to lock in a show. He'll be fun to watch with that RMS team. Caleb and I were talking yesterday. RMS, they get better and better every year, it seems like.
Absolutely. Certainly some of the cars to watch in the building each and every year, and Team Ez knows how to put on a show. Spencer Baston looked really good. We'll see him in a little bit. Really good in his opening practice session as well, and Team Ez, cool to have the visor came on well. He puts on a lot of cool content on the social channels. Dason Pursley, boy, what a story for that young driver now teaming up with Reinbold Underwood Motorsports here this year, typically with Keith Kunz Motorsports, but again, missed last year due to that horrific injury suffered in 2021 at the end of the West Coast Swing out in Arizona. Missed much of last year, recovering with that neck injury. He did, and then he went out and won 7 of 8 micro races. He won 3 midget races in a row to end this past year, and then look at him now, here back at the Chili Bowl, and looking to go for a driller. Always somebody you can count on being up toward the front.
Love having him back. This is session number 27, so if you were watching earlier, you just tuned in, or if you just tuned in on Facebook or YouTube or the FloRacing website, the way it works, they started at 9 a.m. this morning. They divided the field over 360 cars into 34 different sessions. They ran sessions 1 through 34. They took a little bit of a break. Now we're going to bring everybody back out onto the track for a second session, but we're going 34 through 1. This is session number 27. Will be followed by 26, 25, all the way down to session number 1. That way everybody gets on the track twice, different racetrack conditions, and should be a great practice day here on Flo and a great week here in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Chili Bowl as the car goes around the 70th Kate Hells out of Coweta, Oklahoma.
We saw Steven Snotter out there as well, Casey Hicks in the 5H, J.R. Ewing in the 2C. Larry Braddy's out there. And then how about the 36K of Chris Carroll? We talk a lot about him at the shootout, a driller winner there as well. Not a lot of midget experience. In fact, actually is a rookie here at the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals. Hard to believe Chris Carroll being a rookie, the veteran micro racer, but going to try his hand here in the midget. But he's got a lot of laps around this Tulsa Expo Raceway in both wing and non-wing micro sprints. So it'll be interesting to see how he does there. Also out on the racetrack, Steve Irwin. We mentioned Ricky Thornton Jr., and actually our producer Kane gave us a really good insight to that seat debacle, because don't forget that he's got a narrow body midget, so those Ultra Shield and Kirky seats actually don't, or they'll work actually perfectly well in midgets versus the Ultra Shield. So a little bit different body style again in that midget, and that's the reason why for that seat change. There's a look at AJ Hopkins. Talked to him during the shootout. He was locked into our coverage on Flo, a track champion out in Indiana on Sprint Car Tour with Putnamville, Lincoln Park Speedway, Bloomington, He's pumped each and every time he gets in this building, and he's got a fresh Toyota under the hood of that thing. Taylor Courtney and the Ramies have that thing set up, so it'd be fun to see what he can do this year.
Steven Snotter in the 12X has a lot of outlaw kart experience up in the Pacific Northwest. He'll run a lot of outlaw kart stuff in Oregon, California a little bit, and having him here at the Chili Bowl, which he's done a couple times, I believe, throughout his career. The Stanton SR11 power on that machine. Something to note, too, about Chris Carroll, I believe that is a Dragonfly Aviation midget, too. Of course, Kevin Reed, Builds Micros, comes to the shootout every year, brings several different cars. They're always pretty successful. Oh, that's interesting.
It's the Cookie Monster.
Well, he spun out, so the green is definitely being bad luck for him there. But, yeah, there it is right there, the Dragonfly Aviation midget. Don't believe we've seen that in previous years, so Chris Carroll looking to make noise, more noise here in Tulsa.
Back out as we'll wrap up this session, as there's a look at Chris Carroll now on the top side of the racetrack, and we've got another one looped around, and that is number 2 on Kate Cowles. So the Cookie Monster machine...
The Cookie Monster is not green. The Cookie Monster is blue. What the heck is that?
Well, that's not the Sesame Street version. That is the probably more PG-13 version of the Cookie Monster.
Well,
Cookie Alien.
Green is bad luck in racing, as we all know. You can't wear any green when you're in the pit area, and maybe that's why he spun out twice, but I'm sure he'll get it back together for his prelim run later in the week. As there's a look at Thomas Meserol, and there's Terry Wayne Maddox, the Fladman. Of course, you're watching the Tulsa Shootout on FloRacing. Very, very scary incident on the front straightaway. Terry got struck by a race car, went to the hospital, got some stitches. He's back. He flagged the rest of the shootout. Flagged actually the very next day after the incident occurred. He's back. He's feeling good, and very glad that Terry's okay. Certainly a scary incident that we had take place at the shootout as Thomas Meserol comes to a stop there on the back straightaway. I believe there was a wrecker vehicle parked in front of him.
Yeah, he gave the thumbs up to one of the officials, and then I think had to come to a stop because he was trying to get up the ramp, and there was a vehicle involved. So Thomas Meserol going to pull off here early. I don't think we've thrown the checkered flag on this session just yet. So
that is interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure we'll have people up at the top of the ramp. Maybe that could send us a text or let us know what's going on with the 7X. The team has Thomas Meserol, but you kind of touched on it earlier. Good to have those kinks happen on practice day. And, in a similar, in previous years, you practice Monday. If you ran Monday night, you had a problem on Monday, you had to really thrash to, change an engine or get something changed for the prelim night. But now you get, multiple days if you need it to work out any problems you might have on a practice night.
Under the green, there's Ricky Thornton Jr. We documented the scene. He's got one bolted in there and trying his hand here at the Chili Bowl, using that berm on the inside. And something we always like to kind of keep an eye on, too, is how the racetrack character changes as Chris Carroll comes to a stop, bringing out the yellow flag, and the yellow flag only. So it looks like the session will get extended just a little bit, but definitely, these things drive completely different than a micro sprint. You ask any driver that's done both, and not a whole lot translates except for obviously the lines and kind of your turn-in points and things like that. But the speed differential, the way that these cars, you drive more with the throttle versus the steering, and the sheer weight of these race cars. Again, these are heavier, bigger tires, so you can use a little bit more of that inside berm we've seen with the left front, although we've had a couple drivers already. I think the unofficial because we don't start our flip count until tomorrow at 6, and half of those were due to that inside berm, some of these drivers being a little too aggressive early on.
For sure, we do not have timing and scoring. The building is not running transponders on the cars for practice. There's no timing and scoring at all, so I apologize for that. But will be come Monday night whenever we start hot lapping. And of course, we want you to come to the Chili Bowl. If you can come, even if it's only for a day or two at the end of the week, come, because you're not going to regret it. The Chili Bowl is unlike any other event in terms of in-person atmosphere to attend. But if you can't make it, FloRacing will have you covered flag to flag all week long. So we hope you join us as we go back underway in session number 27, which is taking us a little while to get in the books. We've had a couple of yellows here.
Yeah, a couple stoppages, but looks like we're going to finish this one out under the green flag as you take a look at some pretty racy action going on out on the racetrack, leading to a Landon Crawley keeping that car pinned on the inside. There's a look back in the field at Bloomfield's number 14, and there's the checkered flag. Caution is out as well.
As Chris Carroll comes to a stop, being told Thomas Meserol was actually a black flagged by event officials for hot lapping under the yellow. You know, nerves, everybody's amped up. That's obvious, you know, we understand Thomas, but that's definitely a safety issue whenever we're under yellow flag conditions. So Thomas was sent up the ramp for that. That is what I'm being told, thanks to our good friend Dean Mills up top for finding out that information for us. As Chris Carroll gets pushed back to the pit area, there's a look at the 19A Dason Pursley getting back to the pit area as Austin Frenchie and the Reinbold Underwood AME crew will get him pushed back to their pit area. Chris, I know you walked through the pits. Parking is a lot different this year. There's some guys that have been moved around, some guys that have been moved up. It's going to take me a day or two to remember where everybody's moved to.
Yeah, definitely. Had to make at least 2 laps. I'm sure I'll make some more here as the week goes on. But I do love it, though, because, you know, we talk about the Tulsa Shootout, 1,600 entries. How in the world they squeezed everything in here. Boy, there is room to breathe here, at least with the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals and the event. Parking a little bit different, although a lot of the haulers and the trailers are inside, so it gives teams an opportunity to have their equipment inside. You know, with the shootout, with the amount of entries we had, not everybody was able to bring in their own equipment and own vehicles. But yeah, you're right. Things got moved around a little bit. Some drivers, obviously, that are moving teams are moved around a little bit. For sure, and so it takes a little bit of time, as you kind of see just by our camera angles here, walking back with Dason Pursley, kind of the traffic you have to negotiate. And this is calm. This is Sunday afternoon. Just wait till Friday when you've got hordes of people, race fans. Again, because I tell folks all the time, this event may sell out in tickets in terms of grandstands, but they will never sell out of pit passes. So come on down, get a pit pass, walk through the pits, get up and close and personal with all the drivers, get some autographs, take some pictures, and then there's plenty of ways to stand and watch and hang out. As you take a look back, there's Emerson Axsom coming to check out, see what Dason Pursley with all the drivers, get some autographs, take some pictures, and then there's plenty of ways to stand and watch and hang out. As you take a look back, there's Emerson Axsom coming to check out, see what Dason Pursley thought of his ride, and just a nice pan of the pit areas. Cars are going in, cars are going out, and it'll be like that the rest of the day as we get the next session out on the racetrack, session number 26, and out there is that 51 of R.J. Johnson, so teammates to Ricky Thornton Jr. there in that 51 camp. R.J. making a return here to the Chili Bowl. This one's got some names in there as well.
For sure.
Including the guy who I've now shared 3 plane trips with. We'll get to him in a minute as we look at the 36 machine out there on the racetrack in session number 26. That's Ian Krager. The 36C, again, with the Chili Bowl rules, can't have duplicate numbers, so a lot of drivers mainly you'll see with the duct tape letters next to the number, indicating the differentiating from the other cars.
Brendan Wisely there in the 7W. The 23P Preston Latimus in one of the multiple Mound Stout Motorsports entries. And the green flag in the air, session number 26.
And there's a driver right there that I've got my eye on after the first practice session. That's Brian Carver, former KKM Give Back winner in the micro, ran with Keith Kunz Motorsports 2 years ago. Has won a ton of big money races. And there's G-Money, Gavin Boschele, we mentioned it. Won the shootout stock non-wing with Kevin Swindell on the wrenches, now with Keith Kunz Motorsports, second Chili Bowl appearance. The youngsters got a lot of laps over the last year as a difference from a year ago. And we'll see if he can bring home a driller here this year. 81 car out there as well.
Grayson Springer, a Indiana micro kid in the 81G. We see him a lot at US 24. Circus City, some of the tracks you used to hang out at, Chris, when you were younger.
Oh, yeah.
69P, Joey Paxson, a TQ midget veteran in Indiana.
Yeah, Paxson actually was upside down in his first practice session, so this one much smoother, green to checkered, as Terry will wave the flag, signaling the end of session number 26. So rolling right along, again, going in reverse order now. This is the second time out for all of these race cars here, the second and final time on this practice day for the 37th annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals on FloRacing, presented by NOS Energy Drink. And there is Gavin Boschele
think about how different his mindset is now. He got the shootout driller we saw on Flo, how pumped up he was, how excited he was. That's what kids dream of. They dream of coming to Tulsa to the Expo Center and getting just any kind of driller. And now coming into your second Chili Bowl, you've got a driller. You're with a great team like KKM that's had so much success here. Gavin's proven himself in a midget over the last year, won the inaugural extreme race at Millbridge. You were there for that.
Yep. And
so Gavin's mindset right now has to be probably at an all-time high, better than it's ever been. And was talking to his dad, Chris, back in the pit area. They're here to practice today. Gavin's going to run tomorrow. He's got to fly back to North Carolina on Tuesday. He's got to go to school Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe Friday as well. Going to fly back on Friday and hopefully be in the A main on Saturday. So Gavin Boschele will be fun to watch this week.
He will, yeah. I kind of alluded to it during his session. I've been on the plane 3 different times. On the way to Tulsa for the shootout. On the way back, he had a golden driller in his lap. Riding home on the airplane. They were on my flight yesterday, last night, headed back, and I said, well, you going to bring back another one? I mean, I feel like I'm a lucky charm here if you're on my flight, so we'll see what happens. But I know they didn't get a lot of sleep after that shootout win for sure. His dad, Chris, said I think they got about an hour and a half before they had to go to the airport on Sunday. So luckily you'll get some more sleep, but for sure school comes first, though, so got to make sure we get Gavin back. He'd like to go back to school knowing he's in a Saturday night A main, that's for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, who in the world in a normal scenario is going to go to school and say, yeah, I won a Chili Bowl prelim night last night. Just flew back here today.
Flew back so I can go, finish my math homework.
Yeah,
Unreal.
Finish that. Going to go back and win another driller on Saturday. That's what G-Money wants to do. Session 25.
Live on FloRacing or on Facebook and YouTube as well. We'll be here at least another half hour or so more. Shout out to my wife Maggie and Brian watching back in North Carolina. Enjoying some frosty cold ones. I wish I was. Happy Sunday to all of you and everyone else watching.
We will be covering practice for the duration. The rest of the practice sessions run today. You'll see all of them on the FloRacing.com website as well as Facebook and YouTube. Chris and I are going to hang in here about another 30 minutes, and then we're going to go and get prepared for the mini prelim nights that we have this week. And so once we're out of here not talking, you'll still be able to watch FloRacing in the peace and quiet and check out Chili Bowl practice. But we just wanted to come on and let everybody know there's going to be so much exciting stuff that happens throughout the week. We have the on-track storylines, but then there's every year 1 or 2 interesting off-track storylines that pop up. Whether it's a fight or somebody dealing with some off-track drama. The storylines that develop throughout the week are always so exciting, and we're going to do our best to bring those to you on FloRacing.
Kyle Simon in car number 23 back at the Chili Bowl. Veteran open wheel racer in his day. There's one of the orange and black 18 cars. I believe that one is going to be Weston Gorham in the 18N. We saw Justin Dickerson out earlier in these practice sessions. Back at Kyle Simon, also scheduled to be out there is going to be Kevin Reed. Connor alluded to it, the Dragonfly Aviation. Typically we see him in the micros. Kevin had a whale of a Tulsa shootout, was upside down a little bit, but he's back here to tackle the Chili Bowl. Matt Mitchell in the 68 could be someone to watch if you're doing your Chili Bowl pool, coming from one of the backer or later groups, I should say, like pick number 6 or 7. And there's Kyle Jones. The best mustache in Tulsa is back. The Texas racer. Awfully good in a micro here. Locked into an A main at the shootout. He's back to try to lock one in at the Chili Bowl. And there's Kevin Reed. We mentioned it.
Kyle should be fun to watch. He and Bobby Milliser have really stepped up their game with that midget program the last year or 2. So Kyle will be fun to watch this week and should have a shot to make some noise.
Danny Fry the 3rd you saw, and then you look a little bit farther back, there's the RJ Johnson machine in the yellow, and then the 12 out there, that's Jared Hood in the 12H. And it's already, Connor, you kind of mentioned it, it's already started a little bit, the tensions. There were a couple practice sessions this morning where a couple drivers were getting a little bit too racy for a Sunday afternoon test session, and the crew guys were kind of having at it at the top of the ramp. I got a text from Tyler Burnett, one of our FloRacing content producers, saying we already have some scuffles on the ramp, so we'll make sure, of course, throughout the week we'll get anything that happens up there to you. But for certain, you don't want you can't win the Chili Bowl on Sunday. You can certainly lose it or give yourself an opportunity to lose it. So you don't want to get yourself in a bad situation. But we've definitely seen some racy hot lap sessions here so far today.
And we've seen a couple of guys who have, well, you mentioned the unofficial practice flip count is at what, like 5 or 6. So there's already some guys that are, well, taking themselves out of contention for the Chili Bowl. So it happens, but practice, you got to keep your nose clean. You can't be doing, crazy stuff to hurt your chances for the rest of the week. So, as there's a look at Kyle Jones rolling back to the pit area. And we'll get ready for session number 24 to come out onto the racetrack.
So according to my notes, session 24, when we went 1 through 24, is where the track really kind of got dry slick through the middle. There was a little bit of a curb up on top. Again, no major track prep breaks except for that intermission where the tiller was out and the water wagon and kind of everything kind of getting almost a reset. But basically what happened between 1 through 34 was a little trip by the war wagon around, just sprinkling some moisture back in the racetrack, kind of keep it maintained for 34 sessions. So not expecting any more significant reworks through the rest of the day. As I mentioned it, the war wagon's out there once again dropping some water out around the racetrack. So these drivers will get a little bit of a different taste than maybe what they ran in their first session. Again, still pretty late in the going, but once we get to groups number like 10 through 15, it's going to be completely different because they were on a pretty juiced up racetrack. And of course, if you were session number 1, you had a brand new racetrack
I think
at 9 o'clock.
I think that's part of the reason they inverted and went 34-1 instead of 1 through 34 again. So, yeah, doing a little bit of not necessarily work, but as Chris mentioned, just dropping some water down onto the racetrack here. Tulsa Expo Raceway as we get set to bring out another Chili Bowl practice session.
Let us know where you're watching from. Connor, you got a Twitter. Mine's Chris Wilner 26. You can let us chime
Connor
in.
Wade 66 on my
go.
end.
It's
And
also
use the hashtag #TweetYourFlowSeat.
Yes.
We want you to do that not only today for practice, but every day throughout the week. Let us know where you're watching from. I know Caleb Hart and Clinton, they'll try to mention everybody. We'll even throw some tweets up on the screen. But let us know where you're watching from. Interact with us. We love that so much. We can't even tell you how much we love hearing from you on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, whatever social media platform you use. Let us know where you're watching from, who you're watching with, and interact with us because we love that very much. You'll be able to watch the entire Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals on FloRacing, and of course partnering with our friends at MAV TV for the MAV TV on FloRacing broadcast Saturday night for the CB&A.
Bruce Harper sent me a picture watching from Camden, Indiana. Raced last night in Kankakee, Illinois with RC cars.
Nice.
Look at that. We got a sprint car, late model. Heck yeah. That's awesome.
Did you do a whole lot of RC car racing? I've never really got into it, but there's
No,
guys who are really into it.
There is a place actually not too far from the SageNet Center here in Tulsa. During the shootout, Trey Robb told me about it. It's like in a warehouse, and it's this giant RC car park. I may have to check it out now that we've got a little bit more time than we normally do during the shootout. As folks of you that have tuned in know, we were usually live about 9 o'clock Central Time every morning and all the way through the day till about 11 p.m. So we didn't really have much time to do anything.
I think Terry Maddox, if it's not Terry, it's somebody in Oklahoma, has an RC track in their backyard. That's they bring people over sometimes throughout the week and will race RC cars there. Not quite as big as what you mentioned Trey Robb was telling you about. But yeah, RC racing is pretty big here in the area. As there's a look at the 5B machine. That's Bobby Brewer getting ready to be pushed off, fired off for session number 24.
Justin Zimmerman scheduled to be in this one as well. Anthony Pope, Corbin Gurley, he's Wing Sprint Car veteran. There's the 23 machine, Patrick Ryan. Again, so the first sessions, they'll usually do 2 at a time and then pull one in. So 24 and 23 will be out here. 23 will pull in the infield, and we will see them up next. So we'll kind of scan both areas here. Here's the 118 of Scott Evans getting fired off on the racetrack. And it's so cool each and every year to see kind of the innovations on these different cars and kind of what different technical components they have. Some of these midgets have probably been out here several times and they're quite a bit old. Some are brand spanking new. As Connor mentioned, they're built specifically just for this event. You see some of the scoops. Again, there's no weight rule here at the Chili Bowl, so anything goes as far as weight reduction it's really interesting to take a walk through the pit area and kind of see what new things guys are coming up with. There is Joby Miller in that 51, a stalwart in the micro sprints, also runs Power Eye Midgets. The famous last to first at the Tulsa Shootout, I believe back in 2017.
Joby in a Keen chassis. That team switched to Keens, I believe, about a year or two ago. I think they ran them during the 2022 season. Of course, Keen chassis, a two-time winner of the Chili Bowl. Manufacturers, they won with Larson in 21 and I should say 20 and 21.
Take a look at the 35. That's Tyler Robbins.
Cody Ledger, actually, in the 35L. I believe.
Sometimes I can't see the little L's.
Yeah,
see what
there's
he comes
an
around.
L there.
Oh, there's Ledger. Logan Sherb in the 18L will be in this first session that will go green. Tanner Holmes, there's a driver, a Chili Bowl rookie who's teamed up with CB Industries, and my goodness, coming from Outlaw Kart ranks, has literally turned heads in just a short matter of time.
He has blown up the Outlaw Kart ranks out in California and Oregon and that area, has gotten into sprint cars and has been really, really successful too. He won an Outlaw Kart race not even 24 hours ago, last night over in Oklahoma City, or near Oklahoma City, Shawnee, at Heart of Oklahoma Speedway. Came to run that with his own equipment and then running the Chili Bowl for CB Industries. He told me about this opportunity he had back in November, and I know he was really, really excited about it, and Tanner will be fun to watch this week.
One of the young guns that has joined Chad's team, of course, we talk about Chris Wyndham and Jonathan Beeson being a part of that organization, but Jace Park and Tanner Holm are kind of the up-and-coming young guns of that group. And there is Tanner as we get the green flag for session number 24 out on the racetrack.
Very good-looking race car, red and white for Tanner Holmes. There's Brewer again in the 5B.
Ryan as well. There's that Ledger machine by Cody Ledger. And the 118 of Scott Evans. And Joby Miller, who, he can run the top and bottom, but I really think he's one of the best at running the bottom, especially when it kind of gets slicked out, as you see a caution flag waving for Cody Brewer, facing the wrong direction in corner number 2.
Joby Miller's a very, very good race car driver. He started the A-Main here at the Chili Bowl before, if you remember, a couple years back. So Joby will be fun to watch as they work on getting Brewer turned around.
So once again, with these midget cars, if you're just new to the Chili Bowl, there's no clutch system, so put it in gear and get a push start. Look at Logan Sherb out there in the 88S as well. Terry will drop the green flag and we'll finish out session number 24 as we count backwards to session 1, which will round out the practice day of the 37th annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals. Once again, you can watch it all live on FloRacing, presented by NOS Energy Drink. Beginning tomorrow, Cummins qualifying night, another stacked field on Monday as the checkered flag flies for this group. Ledger popping a wheelie off of turn number 4. And it's really cool to look at some of the history. Do you know why it's called the Chili Bowl, Connor?
I believe, wasn't it a local sponsor? It was a chili restaurant sponsor, the very first one, and so they called it the original Chili Bowl, and the name just kind of stuck.
That's right. 1987, the original Chili Bowl was the Chili Bowl.
First one, and so they called it the original Chili Bowl, and the name just kind of stuck.
That's right. 1987, the original Chili Bowl was the Chili Bowl Food Company sponsorship. Bob Berryhill, that's how it originated its name. Of course, everybody likes to have their own theories on it, but that's the way it actually went. And Emmett Hahn, Lanny Edwards, the vision was begun, and look what it's become now. a rite of passage for any sort of race car driver to come here and test his or her might against some of the best across the world. We mentioned it. Tom Harris here from the UK. We mentioned Michael Pickens, the multi-time international champion out in New Zealand. It's crazy to see the type of talent, the number of talent that all packs inside this building once a year here for the Chili Bowl Nationals.
There's not a whole lot of dirt races where you go into the week thinking, I just want to make the A-main. And there's a lot of guys that do. Of course they want to win, but there's so many guys that, you know, you ask them what you're going, well, goal number one, let's just get into the A. It's probably the hardest A-main to make in all of dirt racing, and I think that's really cool. Just guys, they just want to make the show here at the Chili Bowl.
They do, and even for some, making a B main is incredible.
Yeah.
You'll look on Saturday, and for those of you who haven't tuned in with us before, you'll see when we get to Saturday, probably even some D mains, you're going to see some names that you're thinking, why are they buried that far back?
Yeah.
It's just, that is the Chili Bowl. It's a lot of luck, but it's just the amount of talent in this building. Not everyone can make the 24-car starting field, and so B mains and C mains here at the Chili Bowl rival any A feature across most of the national schedules in the outdoor season. So really incredible. And you look at the winningest states too. I always thought this is cool. Tennessee still has the winningest Chili Bowl record to date with 9 wins. Of course, they can thank the Swindells for most of those, if not all of them. California has 8, so they're getting close. Oklahoma, Indiana share 4 Chili Bowl national wins. Wisconsin has 2, and of course a host of others with 1, including Arizona, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, Nevada, and New Mexico have a driller.
So Tanner, when he won, so on the entry list this year, I believe it's not Tanner listed being from Oklahoma because he's recently moved here, but of course originally from Nevada, so Nevada got the credit for that. But with him being listed on the entry list as Oklahoma this year, I wonder which way that'll go.
Yeah,
I think it's got to go to Nevada, right? If you're going to send one to Nevada, you got to send them all.
I mean, you know, let's say I entered the Chili Bowl, I'm going to put Carmel, Indiana. You know, I haven't lived in Carmel, Indiana in probably 10 years now, almost, but that's home. So it'll be interesting to see what he does for sure.
There's another driver we saw just prior that's picked up a driller last week in the non-lean outlaw division. That's Fresno's TJ Smith driving a Shannon McQueen-owned entry here at the Chili Bowl. Talked to him at the shootout about his Chili Bowl ride, was really excited about it, was really looking forward to seeing what that SR11X that McQueen team can do, so TJ will be fun to watch. The car we saw, the 116, that was Claude Estes III, entered for a Chili Bowl run this week. Green flag out, this is session number 23.
51 out on the racetrack, Curtis Jones in that black and gray, number 51. Out, Stephen back with us at the Chili Bowl. Go a little bit far forward up on the field, the 35 of Tyler Robbins. Working his way, kind of see some of the shine now through the center of 3 and 4, right behind one of several 80 cars. That's Caden Honeycutt, again, the late model star on the pavement side. Cars Tour winner in 2022, is going to run some Truck Series events in NASCAR. He's in the ADS making his first Chili Bowl appearance, and there is the gasser from North Carolina, Brent Cruz, teaming up this year with Chase Briscoe, one of those entries. He just ran a late model at New Smyrna literally 2 days ago and hopped on a flight here and is going to challenge himself one more time at the Chili Bowl after making his debut a year ago.
That after a busy shootout. He was with CB Industries, and I was talking to Brent. He didn't do a whole lot of midget stuff this past year, focused on off-road and Trans Am racing. It was really, really successful in that, but didn't do a whole lot of midget stuff. Won a lot of Power Eye races in 2021. So back in the seat of a midget. It looked really solid at the shootout, did Brent Cruz. So we'll see what he can do.
And he's a track champion at Millbridge Speedway this year, so he found time to race enough micro races to where he able to lock up the track championship.
That was his first one, right? He never really ran a full season, I don't think, at Millbridge. Finally ran the full year this year and got that championship.
Yeah, absolutely, especially because he split a lot of the time with the midget races with Chad and winning those Power Eye races in 21. 22 with the Trans Am stuff, kind of mostly being on weekends. He was able to run the Wednesday schedule pretty heavily out at Millbridge. And shout out to Ashley and Jeremy Burnett. They were racing this weekend in the Winter Series, and I believe they're on their way up to Tulsa, so can't wait to catch up with them.
Earlier, I think they're on their way, but earlier they were watching because Ashley's not somebody that she wants to watch very much. Her brother, Nick Hoffman, I know she was wanting to know when he was going out and if we were covering it and all that, so Nick Hoffman will He went out earlier on, but 5th on the prelim night last year for the Chili Bowl. He'll be fun to watch this week as they push Brent Cruz back to his pit stall.
Yeah, good to see Brent again back with us. We'll see what he can do. Started on the outside pole of a preliminary feature event last year, and unfortunately got collected in an incident and kind of got buried on Saturday. So the results didn't show kind of how impressive. Again, one of the youngsters that was one of the exceptions of the age restriction rule that Connor mentioned, being under 16, but was able to get the invite or the ability or the acceptance to join. So he's back again this year. Session number 22 and 21 being rolled out on the racetrack. They'll both kind of wheel pack for a minute before session 21 pulls to the infield. Tyler Shoemaker, and there is Michael Pickens. We mentioned the international champion. Has done really well here at the Chili Bowl, but again, missed the last 2 years due to COVID and the restrictions, especially in 20 and 21, trying to get back to the States to run this event. First time we've seen him in 2 years here at the Chili Bowl, but teamed up with Dave McDalby Motorsports in that number 4X, a really sharp-looking race car, and Michael was on the gas in his first session, literally 4 in the fluff here at the Chili Bowl.
That is how.
And he was popping wheelies down the front straightaway, had some of the folks here on the front straightaway hooting and hollering.
That's how he always is. I'm a big Michael Pickens fan,
Yeah.
I have to admit. The guy's just a wheelman. He gets in and just drives the heck out of the car and picked up a win with the Extreme and Power Line Midgets at I-55 this past year during the Ironman weekend. That was really his first taste of success with that Dave McDalby team. Now they're back together for their first Chili Bowl together, and Michael's going to be fun to watch this week. I have him starting the A-Main on Saturday night.
Sure.
Here's a guy will be fun to watch, too. Great to see him
Oh,
just
my goodness.
in a race car at all through some of the different off-track issues he's had to deal with the last couple of years, but Parker Price Miller, love having him here at the Chili Bowl.
He beat cancer, and then he unfortunately suffered a pretty big injury in a wild ride at Knoxville early this year. Missed about 6 or 8 weeks and got back in the seat of his sprint car, and now is back. And he unfortunately suffered a pretty big injury in a wild ride at Knoxville early this year. Missed about 6 or 8 weeks and got back in the seat of his sprint car, and now is back with us here at the Chili Bowl. And he's a guy who's been close to making the feature event. I believe his highest was like 1 or 2 spots out in a Saturday B. So we'll see what Parker Price Miller, the law firm, can do this year. And there's a look at your good buddy, Jaden Rogers, teaming up in a Ripper chassis.
Yeah, the Stellhorn / Ruzick-owned 17 machine, former USAC Sprint Car Rookie of the Year. Jaden is here for his second Chili Bowl. He ran last year with the Devin Rainey, Taylor Courtney team, and now in a Stellhorn-owned Ripper with Flea Ruzick turning the wrenches on that machine.
Saw Jason Martin, Keone Texera, Hawaii representative here at the Chili Bowl. Really cool story as we've got one turned around in turn number 3. And it looks like our vantage point in the booth, we'll get the glasses on it. And that's the 11T of Tyler Barron. Barron in the 11T, didn't see much contact, just looped it around. They'll get it fired back off here in session number 22. So session number 22 on the racetrack. We're counting down to 1. This is the second time these cars have been through hot laps here today on practice day for the 37th annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals, broadcast on Flow, presented by NOS Energy Drink. Again, Chris Woolner, Connor Wade with you here for a little parade coverage, as we like to call it. Give you a taste of what's to come beginning tomorrow night with Cummins qualifying night Monday, where we'll split the 360 entries into 5 preliminary nights, which will tell the tale for Saturday if you're buried in a lower main or if you start up front in a B or lock it in to an A main start on Saturdays. You look at Michael Pickens this time on the bottom side of the racetrack, really hugging the berm, nearly got it stalled out, kept it going.
I've seen 2 or 3 guys really struggle with entering on the bottom in turn 1 with the way the berm is down there. Pickens certainly had his hands full right there as Jaden Rogers moves by the 11T of Tyler Barron. The checkered flag coming out of the hands of Terry Maddox, the new owner of ASCS and, of course, owner of Now 600 and OCRS in
he's
the
not
Oklahoma
busy at all
region.
during the
Not
year.
at all.
And then he finds time to do this, too, which is awesome.
Guys head back to the pit area. That's the 50T of Keone Teixeira. And session 21 will come out onto the racetrack next, and some recognizable names will be in this one as well. Spencer Baston, Shane Golubet, Ronnie Gardner, Chad Batesflude will be in this one.
See Parker Price Miller getting stopped. The cool looking spiked chassis machine. Had the pleasure, I used to race against Parker back in the micro days. And the sound you hear on the racetrack, you may be thinking, is it the Tulsa Shootout? No, but it is a micro. It's the two-seater micro. The Donnie Ray Crawford Foundation 55. Our own Caleb Hart got to ride the back seat at the shootout. The thrill of a lifetime for our own Caleb Hart. They sell raffle tickets. Opportunity for those of you here at the racetrack this week and buy some raffle tickets and have an opportunity to go ripping in a two-seater micro. Jake Rosario driving this one.
So Brian Walker was in the car earlier. Not sure if you knew that.
I did see that on Twitter. Yeah,
Wikipedia was in the car as the passenger earlier. We have not been told who is in the race car right now. If we find out, we'll let you know. But hey, regardless of who's sitting in the passenger seat right now, I can guarantee you one thing: they're having fun.
So who's next, me or you?
I don't know. I would do it. Yeah, I mean,
I would do it, but I was telling Clinton Boyles during the Tulsa Shootout broadcast that as a former racer, I don't like not having control, and I don't know how I would do as a passenger. It's kind of like riding on the back of a jet ski. You get thrown off, right? Like my instinct is going to be the one driving, but I'd love to see what that feels like. Maybe we can make it happen.
It'd be fun, it'd be cool to do, but I'll let you do it. You can take it.
Maybe we'll actually have the mic work, and then I can give you a little play-by-play
right.
too. But really cool stuff to have this two-seater out this week. Again, the Donnie Ray Crawford Foundation, the Legacy Foundation here, has a booth at the SageNet Center.
We'll talk about Donnie Ray Crawford, who is in the hearts and minds of race fans, not just in Oklahoma, but all over the country. Donnie Ray was a great kid, and we are sure proud to be able to honor him every year here at the Tulsa Shootout and the Chili Bowl, though.
While we have this second, as you take a look at the cars getting ready to head back down the ramp for sessions, I believe this is going to be 20 and 19 coming down the ramp, or 20 and 21, that's what I should say. This year, the 2023 Chili Bowl 50/50 charity raffle fundraiser kicks off tomorrow. My good buddy Roger Slack sent over the information for me. Again, benefiting the Donnie Ray Crawford Legacy Foundation and Counseling and Recovery Services of Oklahoma's Calm Center in Tulsa. Ticket sales begin on Monday. They'll continue until last call Saturday night. The winning number for the jackpot grand prize will be announced prior to the Saturday night Chili Bowl A main event. The 50/50 purse guaranteed a minimum $10,000, minimum, and we expect that to go well higher than that. And the public can both buy tickets either in person here at the Chili Bowl Nationals in the grandstands, the pit area, campgrounds, you name it. They're going to have folks, ticket sellers ready to go for that. But if you are unable to be here, you can still get in on the action and a shot at winning that big old prize by going online, mobile and online sales. So you can purchase 50/50 tickets online by heading to www.chilibowl.com/5050, 5050. That's how you can do it. The link will be there live again Monday, beginning with the prelims, and it'll be going all the way through Saturday. Again, winners have 30 days from the day the number is drawn to claim their prize. Pretty cool stuff. I'm going to get in on that as we look at our good buddy Clinton Boyles.
At least 100, as there's one of our colleagues, Clinton Boyles, who will be
in the booth
with us probably Monday through Thursday and maybe a little bit on Saturday as well, although I kind of hope he's not in the booth Saturday night because I hope he's in the A main.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that would be really cool.
I think
for
he would agree with you on that.
I think he would, although he is great in the booth. We love having him, and a smile on his face as he always has. And he is the car he's leaning on is his father, Joe Boyles, who has ran the Chili Bowl for several years. And I know Clinton loves coming to the Chili Bowl, A, to race, B, to be a commentator, but maybe more important than both of those, to spend a lot of quality time with his dad.
Yeah, I saw them earlier this morning before they rolled the first session of Hot Laps underneath the hood of his dad's car, and just spending some quality time and enjoying the love of racing. And that, that's kind of what it's all about, right? Racing is, while it's, the driver behind the wheel, it's a team sport when it comes to your crew, but it's a family sport because it gets everyone involved, whether it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, you name it. Really cool for Clint, I know, each and every year to bring to be out here with his dad. And both driving pretty well. I know Clinton, though, looked really good in his preliminary practice session. So we'll get the next session out on the racetrack. I believe they're about to fire him off. That's going to be the 4F machine. This should be session number 21 on the racetrack. And that 4F will actually be in group number 20, I believe. Or is that 4P?
Well, it looks like 4F, but that should be Chad Freewald, but I'm not seeing him on the list for either one of those sessions. There is a 4R of Ryan Bickett.
Marcus Kennedy in the 22P getting pushed off.
So that we'll see whenever it rolls around. It said 4F to me. Nope. All right, that is Ryan Bickett. He's entered as 4R. The car says 4F, so...
Come on.
Somebody did something wrong, but it'll get figured out nonetheless. That's why we practice, right? Practice.
Exactly, right? These drivers have practice on the racetrack. Us broadcasters have a little practice here in the booth, making sure everything works together, and we get you an incredible look at the Chili Bowl Nationals here live on FloRacing. Of course, we're not the only ones, right? Connor Wade, Chris Wilner, of course, the voice of Chili Bowl here, Caleb Hart, will be in the booth with us starting tomorrow. You'll have Chris Moore back with us. We first heard him with us out at the shootout, did a phenomenal job. Chris Moore will be one of our pit reporters. Georgia Hennenberry takes us through the pit reporting as well. She's here with the Chili Bowl, joining us for the first time. Of course, Brian Ward will be back in the infield. Tons of good stuff coming your way.
Yeah, great crew, and we're all a family, you know. We all are talking and joking off air and, you know, hanging out back in the pits. Caleb and I get to ride together for a couple hours on the trip up and trip down, or trip here and trip back. So it's a lot of fun. Glad to work with such a great crew. I know that's part of the fun, at least for me.
No, it is for sure. The crew is what makes the broadcast. And actually, I think someone on Twitter during the shootout said the FloRacing crew is adorable. Not sure if they want to hear adorable, but that's what they come across. And I appreciate that because, you know, we're all close, right? We only get to see each other a couple times a year. I know.
Well, adorable is generally a term that's attached to short people, so I can see where you would like that.
Wow, Connor, it's
I'm just
Sunday
kidding,
afternoon.
I'm just kidding.
Short jokes aren't allowed until at least Wednesday. Come on now.
There's Spencer Baston in the RMS 1S machine.
Yeah, he looked really good as well, and he's a guy who's always up toward the front of a prelim night. Don't forget, former national midget champion, bides his time now running wing sprint cars on the World of Outlaw Tour as well as some all-star events, but every time he gets in a midget, he is really, really good. So Spencer Mason, one to watch here running that RMS entry in the 1S.
Driven for a couple different teams over the years. Remember, he was with Clausen for a couple of years, went over to KKM. We've seen him with, I think he was with Brody Hayward a year or two, and he's been with RMS. I think he's found a home there really the last 3 years. Caution coming out here early in session number 21, cart around in turn number 3, base fluid in the 98C.
Remember Chad, former full-time non-wing sprint car racer, now sells trailers for Capital, doing a good job at it, but he says he always has a spot to come to the Chili Bowl, and multi-time runner here. We see him each and every year. Good to see Chad.
Great guy. Got to spend a lot of time with Chad throughout the years at racetracks and got to be around him. I was telling Caleb Hart yesterday when we were in St. Louis, I remember going to a Cardinal baseball game with me, my family, and Chad Basler team, and hung out with us, and then Chad went to the Casino Queen that night. But yeah, Chad's a great guy, and love having Chad come to the Chili Bowl every year, and great to see the different ventures and different endeavors that he is involved in racing.
Ronnie Gardner in the 68. Boy, Ronnie knows how to put on a show in this building.
Oh yeah.
Especially when it comes to Saturday, trying to inch his way close to an A main start. Pulled some daring moves last year, if my memory serves me right. And I know Ronnie would just rather lock the thing in, but boy, he had some people standing up, I believe in a C main last year. It was fun to watch.
Ronnie Gardner very hands-on, not just behind the wheel, but when he's not racing, he's wrenching for people too. I think he turned the wrenches on Logan Seavey's Silver Crown car this past season, as there's Shane Jolivet in Mattwood Racing 17W. You talked about a team that looks stronger and stronger here every year, and it's Mattwood Racing. They brought 6-7 cars the last couple of years, and it doesn't matter who's wheeling those cars, they always look really, really good. As there's a look at the 11N of Nick Barron, one of the Team Ripper entries.
Yeah, you mentioned Shane Golubic, I mean, the accolades continue as the caution flag waves for the checkered flag in this session. I mean, what more can you say about Shane? He's won almost everything under the sun out west. I believe picked up, his third Trophy Cup title, points title there this year. One of the winningest wing sprint car drivers out there in California. But every time he comes in this building, there was a couple years that Matt Wood's group just had all sorts of bad luck in this building, and then it seems to kind of turn around. I mean, we talked about Ryan Bernal a couple years ago, the faults or the issues that Zeb Wise had when he ran for that program, but every year they bring some of the coolest looking race cars, nice looking race cars, and I know Shane and Dustin Golubic kind of really take pride in this organization, and Matt Wood brings some really good cars, so we'll see what kind of luck they have this year.
Mitchell Moles was in one of those cars last year. Caleb and I were talking about this yesterday on the drive here. He was part of that crazy Monday night prelim A main. I think so I talked earlier about how Jerry Coons Jr. Blew a motor leading. Moles passed him not long before that and then got upside down. So they've definitely had probably a love-hate relationship with the Chili Bowl in the past, but I mean, you've shown speed nonetheless, so they at least know the potential that those cars have. Corey Day will be in one of those cars. You see his machine sitting back there as they try to get Golubic back in. It can be pretty tight here in the pit area.
They're pitted right up front, so you saw on the left of your screen was the staging area, so they get a good look as you see Rizzi with the car stands ready to go. But yeah, they've kind of got that prime location up front, so but with that, it's kind of tight to get your car back in your pit stall. So there's a good look here as our next session's about to come out. This is a guy I've got my eye on as well as far as a Chili Bowl rookie, and that is Kyle Spence, your KKM Give Back winner in the micro this year at Port City, earning him the ride for Keith Kunz Motorsports here at this year's Chili Bowl Nationals. Locked into a couple A-mains this year in the Tulsa Shootout, a former Tulsa Shootout Golden Driller winner. The sky's the limit for Kyle Spence this week. It's all about a learning experience, though. You can't get too ahead of yourself, but I know he was geeking during the shootout about this opportunity, kind of taking mental notes about what to do, what to expect when he gets behind the wheel. But, of course, nothing's going to prep you until you get behind the wheel of one of these things, and I'm sure he's got a big old smile on his face.
Absolutely. He's a guy. He runs micro sprints for a living up in the Northeast. Has been involved with Hyper for a very long time, and for him to have the opportunity with KKM is awesome. There is Joey Plemish in the 11K, another one of the Lucas Oil sponsored Corey Kruzman entries.
Yeah, there's that 17M you were just talking about. Now, you know, it's funny. We were talking about some guys, you know, in other disciplines of motorsports getting an opportunity. I believe that's the car Garrett Smithley, who just announced a full-time ride in the NASCAR Xfinity Series here this year. Ran a couple years ago. I remember him trying to learn this thing. So we've seen several drivers run that particular race car. Also out on the racetrack, another 80 machine. We talked about Caden Honeycutt. There's a different one in that number 80. That's the plain 80 of Jared Jennings. Nope, that's the 80A, I should say, of Chris Schmelzel. I apologize.
I was going to let you take that one. I saw him, but I was like, I'm going to let Chris try to say this last name.
It's going to happen sooner or later, folks. Appreciate it.
Mike Bittner in the 33B. Bittner Motorsports entry.
There's Joe Boyles right there in that 98 behind the 1M.
Mason Smith, the car ahead of him. Cody Swanson's supposed to be out there in the session in the 4P. There's a car upside down, not too far in front of us. We will see who that is whenever they get the car turned over.
Yeah, you can kind of see how wide the track has gotten, you know, now that we're through several of this round number 2. And that's what I was just talking about, that 17M, Jeremy Schnepper, who spun in his first round of practice, now upside down in round number 2. So get it out of the way now. But I don't see too much damage. Hopefully doesn't need the hook, but for certainly, if you're going to test the waters, test them now. But you can kind of see how wide the track has gotten there, where the cushion kind of develops. And again, you know, we talked about the cushion in the micro sprints with the Tulsa Shootout. You know, the bigger tires, the heavier weights of these midgets, it's going to create a pretty good-sized curve on some of these prelim nights. And, of course, the more cars you have on the racetrack. You take a look at our first Ibach Springs replay of the Chili Bowl this year. And, yep, got in a little bit hot, got in the cushion, and over she went. Not too hard of a tumble, though, for that car.
There's Cody Swanson in the 4P machine out of Kingsburg, California. And man, when you talk about Silver Crown on the pavement or the dirt, pavement sprint cars, Cody Swanson has done it all. He's not a huge midget guy. He's got some pavement midget experience. He usually runs the Chili Bowl, but not a whole lot of laps in a dirt midget for Cody Swanson over the years. But man, probably, I mean, it's hard to say for sure because there have been a lot of really good drivers when you think about Andretti and Parnelli and a lot of guys that have ran Silver Crown cars over the years, but Cody Swanson might be one of the best Silver Crown drivers of all time.
Oh, absolutely, hands down. I've been calling for that guy to get more of an Indy opportunity. He did run some,
He should be in the Indy 500.
Oh,
he
for sure.
should be in the Indy 500. Somebody make it happen. Jason McDougall, new ride for him. He's rotated rides the last couple of years. He hops in a Bondio car this year, a team that's been very successful here at the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, one of the most unique looking race cars each and every year, that 47 Camp. And Jason, remember, you can watch it on Flow after our coverage of practice, ran the Soup 2 years ago. Second highest ever on a Saturday, five feature events, 54 cars passed that year, and probably could have made it one more, but Ryan Bernal got in the back of him there in an F main, and his run was ended, but that was fun to watch. You can check that out on Flow Films there on FloRacing Tile when we're done here this afternoon. You should take a look at Kyle Spence and that Keith Coops Motorsports number 67X up underneath the inside. Looks pretty good for a first-timer in a midget as the checker flag flies on that session. So I believe, as Joe Boyles comes to a stop before getting off the track. So ladies and gentlemen, this is where Connor and I depart you, but don't fret. We're going to leave the cameras up, and you'll have a good look at the rest of practice as we get session number 19 through number 1 to conclude practice day here at the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals broadcast on Flow presented by NOS Energy Drink. Once again, we're going to step aside for the commentary side, but enjoy the rest of practice here on Flow. Don't forget, tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central Time, Cummins qualifying night. We'll have broadcast for you, 4 p.m. Central, to kick off our first of 5 preliminary nights before we get to the all-important Saturday here at the Chili Bowl. Connor Wade, my name is Chris Wilner. Thanks for tuning in here to practice. We'll see you tomorrow. It's time to go qualifying night tomorrow here at the Chili Bowl.